Hey guys, so here bringing you another video and welcome to a Riot dev update that we occasionally do these. Basically when Riot comes out with like little kind of Q&As that they do occasionally, and sometimes they're even meatier, but this one we're going to focus in on one major topic. We are going to cover the other one though. We're going to ignore the middle one because this seems a bit weird, but we're going to cover, can you add more bans to the game? And we're going to talk about that, the benefits and negatives to it, and you guys can give your opinions because it's a very popular thing at the moment. And also, why is it not more variety in bot lane, or like it has been a little bit, but why hasn't it been fully embraced? And we'll go into that too. It is also worth noting because some people may be like, am I going to talk about the recent item kind of drama? I don't know how, what like controversy the word has been. Basically, Riot released another one of these, and I'll just touch upon it quickly before we begin this. But Riot released some data recently going over, oh, the items are a success because here's all the diversity on the champions. But what they failed to kind of realize, or they did realize but wanted to, it's a bit dodgy. But basically, Riot included ARAM and all random earth data into the item variety per champion. So that made it seem a lot better for Riot, because Riot are trying to pitch that it's the items are a success if there's a lot of variety. I don't know why that's their end goal, by the way. I don't know if people have asked for that, but meh. I'd rather more balanced items than variety. And then situational items here or there, but a core build per game I think is fine. But yeah, so the champions, Riot came out really proud and successful, and oh look, it looks amazing, all this variety, when it was just all random earth and ARAM making it that way. And then Riot got discovered, people found out, because it just didn't make sense, because there were some champions like Braum with Kraken Slayer was really popular, like wait what? Or Thresh with Kraken Slayer. They got found out, let's just say that, and then they've come out going, oh, we accidentally included that data. I'm, again, as a league partner, so again, I like Riot, I like working with them, but I don't think it was an accident that they included that data, if I'm completely honest. I think Riot sometimes are a bit desperate to try and prove that what they're doing is right when the whole player base isn't loving what they're doing. And I think that was them trying to do that. And now that they've been discovered, to me, it's more of a setback. Like, it's something like they were showing like 84% of champions are good and they've got diverse builds. And now with the new data, again, there's two different ways to approach it. They, on Twitter, a Rioter was like, oh, the real number's down in like low 70s. But then other people who've got their data and they've done their own version of it are in the 60%. So it's, again, it's hard to trust now when all these little things keep happening. I, for one, love open transparency developing. Like, even if a developer like it's not going well, I'd rather a developer say it's not going great, but we're going to still keep working on it. And if it isn't going to go great for the long term, we'll think about like our options in the future. And that's the exact way. Again, I gave massive props to a developer years ago. His name was Sap Magic. He was the guy that leaded dynamic queue, or was it roll queue and stuff like that. That was him. And I had meetings with the guy, really lovely guy. And he basically was very open to criticism and very open to be like, it's not going the way we want from the beginning. And that's why it was reverted, is that Riot saw that it wasn't being enjoyed, it wasn't working, so they reverted it, and that was open transparency design. The items don't feel that way, especially that there's now these, here's a Riot report with bogus data. It just feels a bit dodgy. So for me, I'd want Riot to be more transparent, more open, and not doing things like that. Because again, some people say, what if it was a genuine mistake that they included the data? I'm going to be honest, and this is where it may sound harsh, I don't think it can be a genuine mistake, because anybody looking at the data for 2 seconds would have questioned, wait, there's no way that Thresh builds Kraken Slayer 7% of games, or Braum builds Sunfire like 20% of games. There's just no way that exists. So that's what I would say to that. So again, I thought I'd include that because we're going to have questions about it. But the main topics for today is, or the main one is, can more bans be added to League? So this is something that I get asked quite a bit, like what do I think? It actually was brung up on my today's stream. I was streaming earlier and people were talking about it in the chat, because a big argument is there's so many more champions in the game. There's 150 champions. That number is always growing. There's not enough bans. So I'll give my opinion after we go through this, because I've read through this myself and I was like, oh, I should make a video on this. And my opinion actually isn't within this, surprisingly. So all I'll say is, you know, what are the trade-offs in right now it's 10 bans. What would the trade-offs be going to 22 bans per player? So the positives that Riot is saying is more control over frustrating or particularly bad matchups, or let's go / frustrating champions. Riot's never going to say that, but if there are champions that are frustrating to you personally, you can just get rid of those champions. Like a prime, let's just go, you're a champion, you're a player that hates Yumi for whatever reason, and now you hate Seraphine. You could ban both of those champs and those champions. And here's the thing with the ban system in League. One champion for you right now, because we all have one champion. You could literally make one champion in League not exist for you personally if you just ban it every single game. Like, literally. And obviously, it does get a bit funny if the ban that you're doing isn't in the role you're in. For example, if you're a support main and you want to ban Katarina every single game, that champion does not exist for you in League. Well, it's a bit iffy if someone on your team wants to play Katarina. That's where it gets iffy. But if you're a support main that bans Yumi every game and you're not going to pick Yumi yourself, then it's a pretty safe ban because you're not going to play Yumi. The only person on the enemy team that's going to play it is the enemy support. So you're just directly getting rid of something that the enemy could pick. That's fine. So that is something with the obviously bans in League right now. So that's one thing. You have more control over banning frustrating or bad matchups or bad champions, whatever you may feel, or overpowered picks. Or the other positive that they're saying is it helps towards strategy of if you have a team comp and it has a counter, you can just ban the counters more. So I don't know, if you're an engaged team comp and you have running champions, like you have Udyr and Volibear on the same team, two pretty big running at champions, what do they get counted? They get counted by disengage. So Janna, Morgana, Lux even. You could just take out all of those disengaged counter picks, Gragas. Like the tools to counter you are more likely to get banned. So that would increase strategy for those team comps. So those are the benefits that Riot are saying. The negatives, though, that they are mentioning themselves, and again, worth remembering, my negative of why this whole topic is a thing isn't here, and I'll explain it. But the downsides, increased complexity and duration of champion select, and that's where I would say that's a big one for me. It already takes quite a while to get into a game of League. Do we really need another minute or two minimum, probably, to get into a game? Probably not. But yeah, we already have a fairly long and complex pre-game, and we would rather get players into the game quicker with less possibility for restarts. This is where some people I actually have seen on Twitter call out Riot here, saying trust me, I will say, let me know what you think down below. But there's a group of people that want to basically remove dodging from the game to make it more punishing. I'm not sure what I think about it, because there's definitely two sides to it. One side, you could, if you're in Champion Select and you have been outpicked, right? They have a better comp, they have better champions, you know this game's a loss, you can just dodge the game and take the 3 LP hit. But then on the retrospect, the team that did outpick you and they have a better synergized comp, they did well, right? They should get technically rewarded for them outpicking you in the draft, but they're not getting rewarded at all because the game has just been poof, gone. So there's two sides to the coin there. But there's that. Secondly, reduced ability to play who you want. So this is obviously quite a big one, is if there's more bans in the game, there's more likelihood of you getting banned out. Especially if you're a main, and they're saying here, if you're a main or a one trick or a new player that you have a small champion pool, what happens if you literally only play, like right now, a great example, two champions I'd say this season, Katarina or Udyr, have seen a massive rise in popularity in Season 11. I imagine a lot of them, the older mains, let's say, the old hardcore Udyr players or the old hardcore Katarina players, some of them are going to be pretty unhappy with how strong the champion has been in Season 11 throughout the season. Obviously, Katarina was stronger than she currently is now, but in that patch, her ban rate went really high. Udyr currently is being banned in most games. But if you've played only Udyr for like 5 years and then suddenly he's now getting banned permanently, what do? And that will only happen more when there's more bans in the game, because more champions are going to get banned. And then finally, the last negative is edge cases. So basically, if in theory, and it is a theory that would be unlikely to happen, but if the meta is AD carries are strong, and let's say the bans go up to 20, in theory, every single AD carry could be banned. In theory. So that's another weird case that like there are roughly what 15 maybe AD carries in the game, I'd want to say, maybe. So if each person banned one AD carry at least, every AD carry would be banned. So a whole class of League of Legends is just being wiped out, and that could be enchanter supports or assassin mid laners or tanks, top lane tanks, all gone. So that's where you've got to be worried about that sometimes, and that's where I do see Riot is definitely worried as well. But what I would say, so a couple reactions to this. Something that I'm surprised hasn't been mentioned by Riot here. So a big reason to why the bans don't feel fulfilling, and this isn't why I don't think, but I'll get onto my bigger point in a second, but what I'm surprised that Riot hasn't said is every player gets a ban, but that isn't a unique ban. So potentially a fix to the problem, if they don't want to increase it to 20, but they also don't want to increase, because like, you know, that would increase the time of banning a lot. Why don't they do something with individual bans? So you can't have 2 champions banned on each team, because let's be honest, there's 5 bans per team, so that's 10 bans. How many games do you get of actually 10 champions being banned? Hardly any. Usually it's 6 or 7 champions are being banned, because both teams are banning Udyr, both teams are banning Echo or whatever. Like, it's very rare that like there is a unique 10 bans across both teams. So maybe they could do something of actually making it 10 bans per game instead of like the average 6 or 7, and that would make a little bit of a difference. But again, the way you do that, and this is the positive to negative to that. Positive to that, the bans are better because you do now have individual bans. The negative to that, it actually could slow down champion select or increase dodging even more. Imagine if you're going through the only way you could probably do it is take turns. The teams takes turns like they do with picking champions of who to ban. Imagine if you're near the bottom of the pick and you're again, Udyr one trick. Let's just say you're a pure Udyr one trick. And then right at the beginning of the bans, Udyr, the enemy team bans it. What are you going to do? You're probably just going to dodge instantly, most likely. So then that would increase dodges because they're seeing their champion be dodged. But again, you could argue that if their champ gets banned anyway, they're going to dodge anyway. But that could be one thing that Riot could look at, making them actually unique bans. But what I'm about to get into today, and you know, Riot's ending it, by the way, by saying the negatives to increasing it outweigh the positives. And I would probably agree to that. I don't think we need 20 bans because I don't think the problem is only having 10 bans. And this is where I think the calling of this has been only risen by the player base. And this is where I do have to bring in balance. It's because the balance in the game is messed up. So people are going through champion select, they're banning what they think is strong, and then you finish the bans and go, oh, geez, there's still that champion, and that champion let through. Oh, God, we need more bans. We don't need more bans. We just need a more balanced game. So I think the fundamental of why people are calling out for this isn't because we need more bans. It's because every single champion select, there are still a bunch of champions that feel unhealthy getting through. And you're already banning some of them, but there's still more. So if the game was in a more balanced place and the game felt better as a whole, I don't think people would call for this, because then all bans would turn into is what you personally don't want to play against. Right now, bans are a mix of 2 things. Bans are a mix of what you don't want to play against in terms of what your enjoyment level is, but also what you think is unhealthy for the game. Oh, that's overpowered, I'm going to ban it. The problem is there's too many of those, oh, that's unhealthy for the game picks right now. So then it's a combination between, I don't want to play against that champion, but do I ban what I don't like, or do I ban the overpowered thing? Oh, it would be better if I just have 2 bans, because then I can ban the thing I don't like, and I could ban the overpowered thing. If you just take care of the game balance, this problem goes away. So that's what I would say. Let me know what you think down below. And then finally, just to quickly touch upon, why isn't bot lane variety more of an issue? So there are people out there that obviously like the mage bot lanes. And worth knowing, Riot explains here that some of the highest win rate champions of bot lane are not marksmen. It's Swain, Karthus, Heimerdinger, and mages. There are also mages, their highest win rates are in bot lane. Veigar has a better win rate in bot lane than he does mid, or Seraphine is bot lane over mid, or Ziggs bot lane over mid. So why isn't this more of a thing? I personally think it's more of a thing because just nostalgia and just the social norms, and Riot says that themselves. You know, there are strategies you can do. You can do the fasting center, which I absolutely hate, but you can do it. You could do Seraphine bot lane. It has shown success, especially in pro play, but obviously pro play is fundamentally different to solo queue. They have coordination. They have a whole lineup of 5 champions that they're building together on purpose. In solo queue, you're not doing that. But why do I think that, like, it isn't just a free-for-all? I think people like a more structured League of Legends, and this is where I think sometimes Riot has gone against that. Is Riot sometimes has been all for blowing up the meta, mages go bot lane, AD carries go mid, but all I'll say is I only can go off my own experience, my own chat, my own comment section on YouTube, and it does seem that people in general, maybe the majority, at least in my seeing and everything, they don't like that, because everybody kind of goes, it's cheesy, that doesn't feel very skillful. And that's, I think, a big reason why, is people just like the cleanness of having an AD carry, a support bot lane. You know, I think that's what it more is. And I agree. Like, I fully know, and I'm aware, I'm an old school League of Legends player. I've played since season 1. I've seen the meta change all the time. You know, it's not like I don't like change, but I love League of Legends when it's kind of more basic in terms of top lane. You have a bruiser or a tank. Jungler, you have... I often like an assassin type jungler. Mid, you have a mage or an assassin in mid. AD carry in bot lane with a support. That's either a tank or an enchanter. Like, or a damage, I guess, with Brand or whatever. But, like, that's what I like. That's how I enjoy League of Legends, when it's on my team and the enemy team. Like, you kind of know what you're doing. I like that. And obviously, when you're introducing mages in bot lane, it fundamentally changes things. If you're running a Ziggs bot, but you still have a mage mid, that could unequalize your damage. You have too much AP damage. Where's your AD carry? Where's your DPS in mid to late game? You're missing that out. So that's when people will go, in pro play especially, we're playing Seraphine bot. Oh, we'll put a Lucian mid. It kind of covers off, you know, the negatives of doing it. But in solo queue, you're not always going to do that. So that's, again, where the differences go. But I think that's mainly it. I think it is because the player base as a whole likes the cleanness of, like, just things being where they belong. Maybe, yeah, let me know what you think. If you're a big mage bot lane player, do you find that sometimes you run into problems of, like, oh god, we have too much ability power, or whatever it may be? Let me know. But that's going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little League dev video. I like doing them. Again, we don't do them too often because, again, we have to wait for these type of topics to come up. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Hopefully you enjoyed. Like it, comment, subscribe. Again, go in the comments. Again, keep it civil. Here at Huzzy Games, you know, we can have direct, frank conversations. Like with Riot, you know, that whole situation, you can probably tell I was a bit annoyed that Riot tried to pull that off. I do think they did it on purpose, but we can have like a non-toxic talk about it. That's the point. But anyway, that's going to be it. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.